The blessed water should not be chilled. When you are home, you can expand your blessed water by mixing a few drops with regular water. In some cases...
And welcome back to the show. So there's a little bit from the movie, and then also a little bit about the actual event that's coming to Toronto. And we've got Gail Thackray joining us here. Gail, great to have you here on the show.
Thank you, Hugh and Sandra, for having me.
I love this. You're from England, living in LA. That makes you Australian.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm Australian. I guess I don't really look English. So, you know, they look at my tan and they say, oh, she must be Australian.
And plus your accent is really, it does sound more Australian than it does English. And maybe that's the American slang. I don't know, but that's very funny.
Yeah, it's a mixture. Los Angeles and England.
Makes Australian. There's logic for you.
Well, plus she spent some time in the southern hemisphere.
Okay.
Down in Brazil.
I've actually been maybe about 10 times last year and a half to this beautiful place, a little tiny town called Abidjan, central Brazil, which is the home of John of God. I actually take people down there. I take groups to experience it, and it's yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing to go down there, and of course it's beautiful just to go to Brazil and hang out.
So is it fair to say you work with John of God then, Gail?
Well, I wouldn't say I really work with him, but you know, I've been and experienced, and people say, well, is it like a cult? Like, do you join it? Are you like, you know, you work under him? And it's not like that. I mean, it's whoever wants to go and visit can go and visit.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He's not like he trains people or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no kind of cult. If you want to see him, you just go see him. And of course, now he's getting about 500 people a day are going to see him.
He can't see 500 people in a day, can he?
Well, he actually does, because what happens is they go in front of him. So they'll go, in a day there's 2 sessions. So in the morning, perhaps they'll sit in meditation with him, and then in the afternoon, maybe they'll go in front of him. But they go in a line.
Okay.
So people go up, and they wear white, and as they go up, he's actually a spirit. He's actually, I mean, John of God is a man, but he actually incorporates spirits inside his body. So he's a full trance medium. So you see him, and he does this kind of a, and you actually see like this energy come over him, and his eyes are normally brown, and they turn blue. And a spirit actually comes inside of him, and there's different ones that work through him, and you can kind of see their different personalities. So he becomes an actual spirit. And then there are thousands of other spirits working, but he is actually incorporated. And so people go in line in front of the spirit, and they go with intention of, well, I have this physical problem, you know, perhaps I've got a backache, or I've got a bad knee or something, or perhaps even things like I have a problem with my relationship, or even financial. And they go and they ask for a healing, or, you know, some energy adjustment. And as they walk up in front of him, he actually works on them. The energy heals them. And you see people walking up and they're like, you know, their arms like this. And as they walk past him, you know, their arms working again.
Wow.
And sometimes that's all it takes. But sometimes they'll say, I need to do a little bit more. And we'll do a spiritual intervention on you. And he'll pick people out and he'll put them like in a separate room and do, it's almost just like a little meditation, but it's actually spirits working on them. So that way he can actually work on hundreds of people a day.
Okay.
Because really it's kind of instant.
Wow. Wow. I have a question for you.
I have a million questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, you go.
Okay, I was going to say, what makes him so special that he's able to do this and others are not?
Well, I mean, I think there are lots of mediums. I mean, I say that I'm a medium, which means that I get messages from loved ones on the other side.
Okay.
And to be honest, I was completely normal until I was about 40.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden discovered that I could speak with spirits. And I realized that, you know, if I could do it, everybody can do this. And I teach people how to open up. And we all do it to some extent. We kind of get intuition that our relatives are around.
Yes.
But now I actually teach people how to delve into that more. But John of God is very rare because he's what they call a full trance medium, which means he actually leaves his body. He says he just goes to sleep and he can't remember anything, and a spirit comes inside his body. That is extremely rare.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd really like to do that, where you go away and somebody else is actually working through your body. There are a few people in this world that can do it, and John of God is probably the most famous, the strongest right now that I know of in the world.
So when he's not doing this work, okay, so when he's not being a trans medium, is he just normal? Can he walk on water? You know, like...
Well, he is a normal guy when he's just John and he's not incorporated. He has a family, he has children, he has a ranch, and he has businesses. But to be honest, I mean, I think he's so involved in this work that they are coming and going constantly. I mean, he works at the Casa, the healing center, 3 days a week, but then the rest of the week he's traveling. He's got charities.
Okay.
And, you know, to be around him is quite interesting because you'll be at breakfast having a conversation and you think you're talking to John, the person, and then, you know, somebody else is coming through talking.
Oh,
and
really?
then the conversation keeps switching and, you know, you're not sure if it's him or if he's incorporated. And I think, you know, he's very humble and he doesn't admit it, but I asked on the video, I asked, are you a medium when you're not incorporated? Do you have like special talents? And he said, I have a seeing gift. So I think he's always connected. I think he is very psychic, but he says it's not him, it's God that does the healing. The spirits come through and they help, and it's God, and then the rest of the time he's a regular normal person. But I think he's a little bit more highly developed than he makes out.
Okay, so I have a question because I watched the video, and you tell the story in the video of when he was a kid, that he was, you know, he met that woman by the river, and then she said, go to the town, go to the spiritual center, they're expecting you. And he was just hungry, he wanted some food. And when he went there, he, even though he didn't know what he was going to do or doing, he led the congregation, and he was, what, King Solomon?
Yes.
The entity King Solomon came through?
Well, he tells a story of when he was a little boy, and first he got a premonition when he was about 9. He saw a future event happening, and I think his parents thought maybe it was a little strange and they should take him out of school, which was very hard on him. And then he had to, you know, learn a trade, and he became a tailor, and he was traveling around, and he knew he had some kind of special gifts. But he tells the story about how he was really starving, hungry, looking for work, and he goes down to this river, and this woman comes over, a beautiful woman, and she's talking to him, and he thinks it's just, you know, a lady, a real person. And she says her name is Rita Cassia, which is actually the angel Rita Cassia, and she tells him, go to the spirit center, they're waiting for you. And so he thinks, okay, well, I'll go. So he goes to the spirit center, and they said, oh, Joao, John, come on in. And they know his name and everything, and they're expecting him. And he thinks, well, maybe they've got it wrong, you know, but hey, I'm hungry, you know, I need a meal. So he comes in, and he thinks he's fainted. He thinks he's, you know, so hungry that he passes out. And what happens is actually incorporated. He goes to sleep. And so when he wakes up, all these people are around, and they're all talking about the amazing healing that King Solomon did. And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember anything. And that was the first time he actually incorporated, and that's when it started happening for him.
And how old was he at that time, Gail?
He was about 16 when that started happening.
Wow.
And I think he went through a difficult time, you know, as a teenager and growing up. Every town that he went to, this would happen. And he was healing a lot of people, but he was also getting a lot of pushback. You know, some of the medical doctors didn't like him. You know, and he was constantly accused of malpractice and thrown in jail and all kinds of things. But when you ask him now, you know, what about the difficult life you had? I mean, he just said, well, you know, I'm glad to be of service. This is my mission. I'm so happy that I can do this. And, you know, very humble about the whole experience.
But that's a good topic you bring up, because I know John of God for the psychic surgery. There's something they call psychic surgery, which is the actual physical going into the body and taking stuff out. But we can't do that here.
Well, he gets a lot of press for that. That's what you see like on YouTube. You see these videos of him cutting people open. And he says that's not the real healing. The real healing are these invisible surgeries, invisible healing. And it could just be when you walk in front of him, there's kind of a passing of the energy. They change your energy. And so people might go up and say, you know, I have a cancerous lump. And maybe they just walk in front of him, and that's it, it's gone. Or he does these, what they call spiritual surgeries or spiritual interventions.
Right.
Where you're really just sitting in a room, and it's a little bit like a meditation. And when I had it done, I could really feel that there were spirits around me working on me.
Okay.
But most people feel at least this kind of a warm, loving sensation. And these spirits do this invisible work on you, even though they have actually seen on x-rays maybe internal stitches. So something is really physically going on, but nobody's touching. It really is just like a prayer or meditation. And he says that's the real healing. But some people just can't completely wrap their head around it. Okay. So some people need that extra. So if he assigns somebody a spiritual surgery, only about 1 or 2 people a day will volunteer. And they have to want to do it, and they'll volunteer and say, I want to do a physical surgery. And what he does, he takes these people on stage, and he'll actually literally cut them open, take out a tumor or whatever it is, and sew them up. No anesthetic, Nothing.
People don't feel this, Gail?
They say they feel it, but no pain. So they can feel him touching.
They feel like a tingling or something like that.
But no pain. And you can see them standing there, and clearly they don't feel pain because you can see him stitching them up. And I mean, anybody can come and you can stand right there, you can take photographs. So, I mean, you can tell there's no kind of sleight of hand. And these people are, you know, you and me that can go and volunteer, and you can talk to them the next day and they'll say, I didn't feel any pain, it was amazing. And he does this more because those people kind of need that extra.
Yes.
And also that everybody else watching can see and go, wow, if he can do that on somebody, then he can do something on me.
So, but to be clear, if you do have a cancer or tumor, he can do that without doing the actual physical aspect of it.
Yes.
He can do it on the spiritual level.
And 99% of the people only get the spiritual. Only a few people want to volunteer. And you have to do that in Brazil. He doesn't do that anywhere else because you never know what kind of laws or restrictions there are.
Wow. Real.
Okay, can I ask you about, about some of the other entities? So we have King Solomon, and who else?
Dr. Augusto is one of the most prominent ones. Dr. Augusto was a doctor, I think, in the 1800s. And all we know about him is from when he comes through in spirit and he actually talks. He'll talk through John of God and talk about his life. But he's, he's talked about what he looks like. And he's very handsome. He's got dark hair and he always dresses very nice. So when he comes through, you can see the personality change. John of God is very upright. He's got a lot of personality and his hair actually gets darker.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got other spirits that come through, like Jose Valdivino. When he comes through, John of God's more relaxed. His hair's a little grayer, not so perfect. And you kind of like see these personalities. So people that are at the casa all the time, they immediately recognize these spirits that come through. But sometimes he'll say who he is and he'll talk. One time a spirit came through and they said, "Sir, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I don't really want to say it. You can just call me Love." And they kept saying, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "If I told you who I was, you get too many people here." So they thought, well, could it be Jesus?
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
And they said, well, no, because, every church could say, Jesus comes. And then later people said, it's John Lennon. It's John Lennon that comes through.
How do they know that? How can John Lennon have healing abilities?
It's, some of these spirits were not healers when they were alive. They were not always doctors. In fact, some of them said they were not the best people. Some of the spirits have said, you wouldn't like me if you knew me when I was alive. But they're working on their karma, and now they're on the other side. This is the healing work that they've chosen to do. And so they're working also on their karma and their elevation on the spirit side.
Wow, very interesting.
Now, I want to ask you, because I watched the movie very carefully, and I watched your interviews with John very carefully, and not once did I see him mention any of these spirit names, the names of any of these spirits. When you talk to him, he always just references God. You know, that he's here on a mission. It's God that's doing all the work.
Yes, and I mean, John of God is religious. He's Catholic, but he invites any religion that wants to come, and he says, just open your heart. If you believe in God, or you believe in angels, or you believe in Buddha, you pray to whatever divine source you believe in. But that he believes that it's God that does the healing, and that the spirits can assist. They help us, and they can change our energy and help us in that way. But the actual ultimate healing is God. And I believe it's like we have this life force energy that runs through us. Just like if you cut your hand and you heal, what is it that heals you?
Yes,
It's some kind of life force energy that's not there when you die. It's with us when we're alive. And it's that energy. But the spirits are not really healing. They're really just kind of helping us. We tend to get a lot of negative energy that collects around us in life. We all do it. Every relationship we have, anything that's negative is said.
You, so.
Funny joke, Sandra.
He's probably got less than most, right?
No, he was actually great.
But we collect this stuff. It's part of life. We collect, energy. And every time we think about, a relationship with our parents that really bugged us, or something that happened when we were young, and we have that kind of a trigger where we're still holding on to it. That kind of stuff we hold around us. And ultimately, that can come inside us and manifest in something. So, I strongly believe that if you get cancer or something, it's not like you were just a victim and it just happened. It's some life lesson. You've somehow brought it to you, and you have this energy around you. And if we were all very saintly, we could look back on our life and say, oh, well, I see how that person treated me really badly, but oh, that was a good learning experience, and I don't feel anything. But we don't, right? We get triggered, and we think, oh, that person really irked me. And that's energy that's around us, and the spirits can kind of help to maybe cleanse off that energy, remove some of that, lift that for us so that we're more open. But I think the real healing is the person opening up and allowing that healing, whether it's with God or whatever they believe.
The only I have to make a comment. The only question I would have with all of this is, in your work, you help people to become their own medium, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing that this powerful man that he is, the only issue I would have, and I'm not sure if other people have raised this, but is it in some way disempowering for people to come to him to be cured as opposed to learning how to do it themselves? That would be the only thing that I would question.
All right, well, that is a good question, but I think what he does is he actually opens you up. And that's why people say when they went to John of God and they had a physical healing and their back was fixed or their cancer was removed, they go back again to be in this energy and feel this. Why is that? Well, it's because it's almost like an opening within yourself.
Okay.
You know, he adjusts your energy so that you can get that healing. So people come back and they say, I just feel much better. I feel like my life works better. I feel more on my soul purpose. I feel like things flow better. You just feel better. And that's because you've actually had that connection with, whether it's with God or divine source or whatever you believe. But I believe it's actually an opening within you. So even though you go to see him, I think he's helping you, but ultimately you are then connected and you are more open. And I think this is what all this spiritual healing is about. It's about connecting you and empowering you. Because I strongly believe that, you know, you shouldn't be going to see somebody
as a quick fix.
Yeah. And, you know, you shouldn't treat like John of God like it's some kind of pill you take and then
or
you're
a Band-Aid,
done.
right? A Band-Aid approach.
And you shouldn't feel like you have to go see somebody who's your guru and you keep going back to see them for a fix.
Yeah.
And I actually used to do personal readings, and I found that was a real problem because people would, you know, they'd want to come back again and again.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you know, but you can do this.
Yeah.
And you know, if you can connect, it's much stronger if you can do it yourself. And I think that's what it's all about. It's about empowering people. And I think when you receive a spiritual healing from John of God, you feel it and you go home with that, and it's life-changing. It's not a one-time thing, and it is more about getting connected. But you also have to do your part too. He says, God does half of the healing, or the spirits do half of the healing, but the other half is up to you. And that is more about, you know, why have I got this illness in the first place?
Yeah, because, you know, if he cures a tumor, if you don't know why you got it, what triggered it, you can get it again, correct?
Well, if you go, say, have a surgery and have it removed, you know, quite often, maybe years down the line, it will come back. And that's because the energy was never removed. If you go to a spiritual healer like John of God, that energy is removed from a soul level. But also, in order to get rid of it completely, the best way to do it is to go, just to have a little think, you know, go to yourself and say, what can I be holding on to? You know, and sometimes we don't even know, well, why have I got this? I have no idea why I have this problem. Well, we'll start looking at your relationships, you know, your old relationships with loved ones, your parents, your siblings, and say, what really irks me? What does somebody say that really sets me off? What do I really hate that really bothers me? And start looking at that, because whatever it is, you know, you're holding on, it's only hurting you. And if you can get rid of that, that's going to maybe be what's causing your problem.
I found it interesting in the film that John mentioned that getting sick was normal. It's part of life. You know, like people just get sick. It's just, you know, just like there's rich and poor people and middle class people. That's just part of the way the world is anyway, the way it's been set up.
When we go through life, we have relationships, we have great things happen with us, and we have not so great things. And every time we have not so great things, you know, it's hard just to release it and let it go. You know, that if we can become saintly, then we can just kind of go with the waves and it won't bother us so much. But we don't do that. You know, we do collect stuff and let it bother us. And the more stuff we collect, that's what's going to cause us illness. And
does he let stuff bother him, does John of God?
He gets sick too. So, you know, I think it's very taxing on his body what he does. And I actually interviewed his doctor. And I said, well, why does he need a doctor? I mean, he can heal himself, right? But, you know, the doctor said, well, you know, if I get sick, I go see a doctor.
True.
And I don't, John of God definitely says, do not give up your medical, whatever you're doing, you know, keep seeing your doctor, because they work hand in hand. So it might be you go for a spiritual healing, Maybe it doesn't happen right then, but maybe you suddenly find the right doctor, or suddenly the surgery that you plan to have is very successful and you heal very quickly. So it's, you know, it's not an alternative. You shouldn't say, well, I'm either going to spiritual healing or medical. You do the spiritual healing, and then, you know, maybe it's going to help the doctor find just the right cure for you, or the right treatment, or make it easier for you. But they work hand in hand.
Okay, I got an idea.
Okay.
Let's just take a little bit of a break. We've got the video that's all about the John of God event in Toronto.
Okay.
So for people that are intrigued, let's play that for them now, and then we'll come back and we'll
Perfect.
chat a little bit more.
Maybe we can
I
talk
got
a
some
little bit
more
about your
questions.
experience, because you've actually
Absolutely.
experienced him,
Sure.
right? Would love to hear firsthand.
So this is video number 4, and we'll come back, continue with Gail Thackray as Liquid Lunch continues. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the John of God Live Toronto Healing Event. We would like to provide you some information on how the days will proceed. Please pay attention to these instructions. A lot of people have come to participate in the healing opportunity provided by John of God. Everyone will be able to see John of God. Please be patient and stay calm. Every one of you will get a chance to go in front of John of God. You will see him only one time per day, just as it works in the Casa de Dominacio in Brazil. Some of you will see him in the morning, and some of you will see him in the afternoon. The rest of the time you will be meditating in his energy field or listening to some talks. Please remember that seeing John of God is only part of the process. Sitting in meditation is also a very important part of the process. There are different lines to see John of God. Please choose the line based on the following information. If you have never seen John of God before, and you have never received herbs from John of God, you will be in the first time line. If you have seen John of God before or received herbs from him, even if you did not see him in person, please go to the second time line. If you have had a spiritual operation or spiritual intervention from John of God, and this is the first time you will see him since the operation, please go to the revision line. When your line is called, you will be taken to see John of God. You will actually see the spirit that is incorporated inside John of God. We normally refer to the spirit as the entity. When the entity sees you, he will determine the treatment you will receive next and direct some energy to you. The volunteers will show you what you should do next. It is our benevolent spirits. Available at this event has been blessed by the benevolent spirits that work with John of God. Drinking this water can help attune your vibration to the energy of the entities or benevolent spirits. The blessed water should not be chilled. When you are home, you can expand your blessed water by mixing a few drops with regular water. In some cases, John of God will ask you to drink the water as part of your healing, but you can also purchase water for yourself and others at any time. Crystal bed sessions are available at the event. Please purchase your sessions at the shop. There are many crystals available in the shop. All the crystals have been blessed by John of God. You may find that crystals, books, and DVDs from the shop have a special energy and connection to John of God.